All right, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining today. We'll give everyone a few more minutes to join in and then we'll get started. Oops. All right, looks like we got a good amount of people in, so we'll go ahead and get started today. So thank you all for joining us for the Green Sports Alliance webinar on AI in stadiums and arenas. Um, If you don't know the Green Sports Alliance, I'll give you a little bit of background information. We are a membership-driven organization. We exist to leverage the power of sports to promote healthy, sustainable communities where we live, work, and play. If you're interested in becoming a member, you can email me at mika@greensportsalliance.org. My name is Mika Alan. I work with our sports members. I help with events and education. And yeah, excited to have you all join us today. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Thank you to everyone who attended our symposium at Gillette Stadium last week covering the sustainability strategy and revenue generation playbooks that we put out last year or last summit. If you'd like to participate in a playbook this year, we are about to start the development process in revising our 2018 fan engagement playbook and our sustainable sports apparel playbook. So definitely reach out. The drafting will begin soon. If you have not heard already, we will be in Cleveland for the 2026 summit, May 5 through 7. Prices will go up in a few months, so grab your early supporter tickets now. I'll put some links in the chat as well so you can check it out. In terms of the webinar today, throughout the webinar, if you have questions, please add them to the Q&A box, not the chat. We will be sure to answer them at the end of the webinar, so we'll leave some time for a question and answer. So definitely put those questions in the box. So now I'll introduce the panelists and I will hand it over to them. So please welcome Brittany Saulsbury, Director of Sustainability at the Moda Center, and Dani Stern, Senior Director of Product Management at Honeywell. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for joining today. And really had fun in the symposium last week. So thank you, Green Sport Alliance, for hosting that and having us today. So we're gonna have a really fun discussion today, really interesting with myself and Brittany, to really talk about AI and how it's top of mind for all of us. We'll get into that. Let's just do quick introductions. So I'm Dani Stern. I lead product management in Honeywell for smart buildings, and specifically I'm focusing on the sports and entertainment vertical. So I've been with the industry, I'd say maybe 12 years now in smart buildings. Really exciting time. So looking forward for discussion today. And I would like Brittany for you to introduce yourself a little more.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Saulsbury. I am the Director of Sustainability for the Portland Trail Blazers and the larger Rose Quarter campus, which includes Moda Center, and really oversee all of our sustainability strategy here as it pertains to our operations, but also on the fan engagement side as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, all of those things, sustainability, fan engagement, fan experience, really start all connecting together, right? In the last, for sure, couple of years, we all seen an uptick of that. So really hope to have maybe a discussion today how we connect all of that, the sustainability goals, those use cases and concerns that I think all of us have with how to utilize AI for that. Brittany, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, just from Honeywell's perspective, how do you define the role of AI in advancing sustainability within large venues?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because if I'll say everything, I will look that I want AI to touch everything, and I think that it's true to some extent. So AI, and even before AI, AI came out to all of our lives. I think maybe 2.5 years ago with ChatGPT going live, and from there, Gen AI and large language models becoming almost like an everyday assistant to many of us and really changing the landscape. But the truth is that AI has been around for longer than that. And I know that for us in Honeywell, we've been implementing AI models, machine learning models that optimize buildings in the heart of our systems before large language models. To me, the role of AI is to supercharge the outcomes that we're all pursuing. So if it's on the sustainability side, AI could significantly help with optimization, um, with a reduction in carbon, with using our resources better. It could basically do activities that a human can't, right? Think about all the optimizations and instructions that need to be sent to HVAC, to lighting, and other sensors to work together and optimize. So the role of AI is, I will say, main in terms of optimization and standardization for both operation and sustainability. But then there's a huge opportunity for AI in the fan experience. Um, so to me, AI is crucial in operations and in optimization, and is um, an order of magnitude increase multiplier, force multiplier for the fan experience. And I think we'll see more and more of that.
Awesome. So when you're thinking about AI strategy across building operations, are you primarily thinking about like efficiency and resilience and other sustainability outcomes, or are you thinking more broadly?
Yeah, that's interesting because first of all, I would say the way I think about it and the way that Honeywell thinks about it, it's on an ecosystem mindset. So if we talked earlier that the role in AI is advancing across advancing sustainability, but also advancing other outcomes such as efficiency, resilience, and fan experience, the strategy is to really meet the each venue with where they are in terms of their outcomes and their capabilities. So, for example, we go and meet with a large venue or a medium venue, doesn't matter. The first thing we do is understand where they are. That could be from their sustainability initiatives, and Brittany has really interesting sustainability initiatives at the Portland Trailblazers to share. What have they done? What kind of systems do they have? What capabilities? And where do they want to get to, right? And that could be from sustainability outcomes and certain goals that they have. It could be reporting, could be optimization. And then what kind of KPIs do they have to achieve that? So if it's energy reduction, if it's certain carbon reduction, if it's dollar amounts from utility bills, if it's efficiency gains, if it's in the fan engagement size, is it revenue? Is it repeat and subscriptions? And we basically get with the customer to really deeply understand where do they want to go. We provide the assessment of how to get there. And from a technology perspective, Honeywell as how do we fit AI to that is really to think about it not as a rip and replace, not how can we use a lot of hardware and CapEx investment, but rather how can AI use true software, true cloud-based optimization systems to achieve those outcomes without a need for significant hardware and CapEx involvement. So that's increases, I will say, ability to go about it, to make the investment, to go on that journey. But it also faster, reduces risk, reduces downtime. So really the strategy is to connect the technology to the outcomes that the customer and our partner really is trying to get to, and using AI to achieve those without a significant hardware experience. So I'll say that's kind of like um, our main strategy where AI supercharges all the outcomes of efficiency, resilience, and sustainability. And most importantly, fan experience. No, most importantly, equally important, fan experience. Um, so that really brings me to you, Brittany. As the director of sustainability in the Moda Center and the Portland Trail Blazers, maybe you could describe to us how does the Blazers organization is approaching AI? Maybe more broadly, what's your overall strategy or philosophy in sustainability and in AI with sustainability?
Yeah, so at the Blazers, I would say AI adoption has really been a strategic top-down priority that has really been driven at the executive level by our Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer, Krista Stout, and then also our VP of Digital and Innovation, David Long. And like their vision is really for the organization to become AI native, and embedding AI across, all of our operations and fan experience. And our strategy as an organization really rests on 3 pillars, which you actually kind of like touched on these, is that really any AI initiative we look at needs to align with at least one of these pillars. And that's that they're either helping drive revenue. So any initiative should, have a measurable business value. The second one is they're enhancing fan experience. We want AI to really enhance personalization and engagement with our fans. And then the third being, operational efficiency and just business efficiency. So AI should really provide that efficiency to allow our staff to, focus on that higher value, more strategic work that AI can't do. And the philosophy is kind of guided by the principle that AI should really like reshape tasks rather than like replacing jobs, because I know that is a concern that comes up with people, is like, we don't want AI to replace our job. But I think like how we viewed it as an organization is that like, every role is a bundle of tasks, and AI is allowing us to shift time away from that repetitive work towards that higher value, more strategic work and activities. And just to give like an example, this actually isn't a sustainability example, but I think it's a really cool example of an AI tool that we implemented, and I did not create this, so I'm not taking credit for this. This actually is not the Oscars, Mika. Sorry. But this is an AI tool that we created for detractors in our post-event survey. So detractors, that had a negative experience or something, typically it was taking us at least 50 hours to get back to those detractors. But with implementing this new AI tool that helped us get those responses to those detractors much more quickly, that time went from 50 hours to just a 3-hour response time, which to me is really awesome. And then that time got repurposed towards engaging fans who had high promoter scores, like really strengthening those positive relationships, which is something that previously we had never had time to do in the past. So that's just a really cool example around like fan engagement and improving, the fan experience as well. I know it's not necessarily sustainability focused, but I think it's a very strong example.
Yeah, and Brittany, first of all, wow, like that's a really cool example of it also goes directly to fan experience, and especially if those took from the experience of the fans, so you kind of gain efficiency and revenue and time saved, but also fixing an experience for the fans. That is a really cool example. And going back to the examples that you gave around the outcomes in your AI strategy, I think we're hearing it more and more, right? Where we expand out of sustainability, where sustainability has carbon goals and pleats of where we need to get, and sometimes government and municipalities maybe goals and incentives. But then it also started touching the fan experience, and most importantly, or equally important, is how does that also has a business case for it? What's the revenue impact or margin impact for the business? And it's equally important because it helps bridge that gap between what do we do because it's good to have or good for the environment, but also good for the business and good for the fans. And there's a really interesting sweet spot there. Cool. Well, that brings us to maybe something that you could also share with us, Brittany. I know that you're using Oscar AI for recycling technology. And maybe you could provide an example of how did you guys do that? How does that help fan engagement and waste reduction?
Yeah, so if you aren't familiar with Oscar, it is a AI-powered recycling tool from Intuitive AI. who we've partnered with. And basically the system combines kind of computer vision and real-time analytics to identify what fans are throwing away, but then also to educate fans as they are throwing away those items on which stream they belong in. So it's a really cool engagement piece that kind of provides instant feedback so fans can see the impact of their actions. But on the flip side, it's also generating, you know, actual insights for our operations team, because behind the scenes, it is analyzing and, you know, using AI to analyze thousands of interactions per event. And it can help us spot contamination issues, patterns, and like areas for improvement so we can, you know, optimize our strategy. And I would say it's been really transformative on both like the fan engagement and operational efficiency piece. So like on the fan side, we're seeing, you know, 92% of people think Oscar's easy to use. 68% were very interacted with it just out of fun and curiosity. So again, that like engagement piece, and like over 50% also said they learned something new or valuable from the Oscars, which is what we want, right? We want it to be a fun educational tool for our fans. And then operationally, and Mika, you can go to the next slide. Operationally, I think it's provided us with some really good real-time, like actionable insights around disposal accuracy. So this, you can see this is just some data we have around our bins. And we can see here, like some of the things we looked at is like, okay, our landfill stream accuracy is very bad. And we're like, that actually makes sense because we don't have a lot of landfill items, but unfortunately, like our landfill right now, as the bins are sized, you know, the same as the other streams. So when the compost stream gets full, like people just throw it in the landfill. And I think we're using that insight as well to inform our strategy in terms of like CapEx in the future when we want to update our bins, like how can we right size them to ensure that we're helping improve this disposal accuracy and make it more specific to our items and also these behaviors we're seeing from our fans, and then also improve like the educational messaging around the bins. It also has like provided really good data around like our reuse cups. So like we're seeing a 70% accuracy in return of those cups to the reuse stream specifically. And that's a really cool data point to see, because it's like, how do we hone in on that last, you know, 15 to 20% that we're missing there. But yeah, I think this is a really cool example of just like how we've implemented AI within the arena and like how it touches both fan engagement, but also operational efficiency.
It is so cool. And just for the audience, just to know from a technology standpoint, what goes into something like that, think about the camera and sensing, and then detection and training of those models to understand what they see, and then processing that and showing it back to the fan with the right insight for the right detection, and all of that in a fast loop system. You could really truly only achieve that with AI, right? Before that, we had to do it with things like scanning or barcode, or like maybe like labeling and things like that. And Brittany, what you were able to achieve by doing these initiatives is not just really cool. It's almost pioneering to a large extent. 92% of the fans liking it and help them. That's a really cool achievement. And I think that's what a lot of the people are here today, like learn what the considerations in implementing things like that. So really cool. But this actually brings us to think, what does that fit in the Trailblazers overall AI philosophy? Like kind of like how does that Oscar and other AI initiatives fitting into your sustainability and operations goals within Moda? You mentioned some of them, but maybe there's others that you want to share.
Yeah, so Oscar is definitely like our most real world example right now. I would say like our AI strategy specifically for sustainability is very much in its infancy. And it's something that I'm definitely thinking about very strategically. I think every sustainability professional understands the challenge of working with a lot of complex data sets from multiple sources, and the time it takes just to make sense of that all. So like, and also working typically on a very lean team. I think AI there represents like a real opportunity to manage and synthesize data again. So like then we can spend more time on, strategic decisions and executing like fun and fan engagement programs rather than just like the manual data wrangling that it
Yeah.
seems like we're doing every day. So I see like huge opportunities there, and that's something I'm thinking very strategically about. Um, Also, definitely around like energy optimization and predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance is a big thing I'm thinking about because Moda Center is an older building. So when we can, spot those inefficiencies ahead of time, not only is it going to save us like downtime, but it's going to save us cost in the long run. I'm sure like every venue operator can relate to a crucial piece of equipment going down when you weren't expecting it to, and it's it was 5 years ahead in your capex plan and you hadn't planned it for that year. So I definitely see like the potential for predictive maintenance being super helpful in that respect.
Absolutely.
Um, But on that note, I'm wondering if you could share an example of like a recent project where AI has made a measurable difference in the energy management or building performance side of things.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting because it's honestly it's exciting where technology like that can really help our customers and our partners. So Honeywell has deep product expertise, and with uh, millions of buildings and dozens, 100 years experience in building controls. Honeywell was really able to build a robust building optimization platform. We call it Honeywell Forge, and what's really nice is that it's connected with a good example of that is a recent large campus that we worked with, and in it's not like example of a venue, but very similar where AI helped orchestrate data from a host of legacy systems that were never connected. So if you think about building, Brittany, you mentioned equipment that could you plan to replace it in 5 years. A lot of that equipment and the reality is that, especially in the built environment, especially in stadiums and arenas, there's a lot of aging infrastructure. In aging doesn't mean have to be replaced. It has to be replaced at some point. And the first thing that we created measurable impact is where our system basically plugged into the building. And the first thing we do is actually using AI to bring it online fast. So if it before took weeks of a building engineer to commission, discover all those endpoints, connect all the systems and integrate with AI today, you can onboard a building in a couple of hours instead of weeks. And that's measurable impact right away because it saves a bunch of your onboarding costs and then it reduces your time and cost to deploy that. That's one thing. And the second thing that was interesting in that project that I'm referring to is how AI, through predictive maintenance, through forecasting, was able to identify equipment that the venue operators didn't even know that is either at end of life or that it has issues that if they will address, they could extend and avoid replacement costs. So we were able to, through the use of AI, expose a host of opportunity areas for technicians to go and fix. And the nice thing with the AI today, especially with the Gen AI and large language model that we implemented, it also interacted directly with the technician to tell them what they need to do. So instead of having to roll a truck, which has a sustainability impact, now we're able to do two things for that venue. What one was remotely resolve it with a 24/7 center that has those capabilities through system integrations, through the use of AI models of optimization to fix items remotely. And then for that same venue, to interact directly with the technician and explain what needs to be done what to look at and the right activity in a language that is approachable to them, and not kind of like an alert that nobody knows what to do with it. And finally, another interesting is the energy reduction, which, I would say before AI, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, the reaction of a lot of customers was, hey, like this were a lot of systems in the area, and I really didn't really see the energy goes down. And now the examples that we see is real energy reduction, 7%, 8%, 12%. It really depends on the venue, how efficient it is, how it's being utilized, location, weather. There's a lot of stuff that impact the amount of savings that you can get. But those savings now are really materializing because of AI. So yeah, those are all really interesting examples of how non-complex deployment are made easy for the operator, and provide real results to the venue.
That's super interesting, especially the non-complex deployment, because yeah, those systems sometimes take a long time to deploy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, about maybe when we have a little discussion later in the webinar about the challenges of implementing AI, and I'll maybe both of us will kind of talk through that, and maybe explain how it's actually is more approachable, than you might think about it just going into that. Um, Brittany, back to you. Would you maybe share personally, where do you see the biggest opportunities for AI to expand, right? Beside, um, for more use of operations, you mentioned predictive maintenance, could be scope 3, could be real-time optimization. Can you share us a little bit about where do you see as opportunities to expand in AI from the Moda Center?
Yeah, I think automated reporting is a big one. I'm obviously thinking about, I mentioned that, but just like streamlining data collection for our sustainability team and that reporting, whether it's internal or external, that takes a lot of time. Synthesizing all that data takes a lot of time.
Yep.
So yeah, currently trying to work through some strategies around that. We are like evaluating like how we can potentially use AI to like automate like our monthly waste report, which has like a lot of streams, not just from our hauler, but also from other smaller vendors for these other streams that our main hauler doesn't pick up. And also like integrating, we also integrate our reuse return rates within our waste report. So
Oh,
thinking
nice.
thinking about things like that. So I think the automated reporting and the data analysis is a huge thing.
Because
Yeah,
reporting is so manual today and it takes a lot of work, right?
yes, and definitely for scope 3 as well, because again, scope 3 is extremely complex. So the more complexity we could eliminate from that, and as we are looking at evaluating or starting to look at evaluating our scope 3 emissions, it's a process, right? We have a lean team. Looking at how we can utilize AI or tools that do utilize AI. To help us with those scope 3 emission calculations.
Super interesting and also very relevant, I think, to many of us, right? Being asked to look into scope 3 and advance the reporting, and AI could absolutely not only help with that and maybe even deeper, and not just save time and labor doing that, but also make them deeper and more relevant. That's awesome. Those are great use cases, I think. Really question to you. In the Moda Center, and I think a lot of people joining today could relate to that. There's so many different stakeholders. Even though it's a lean team, you still have facilities, you have events, you have operators and engineers, building engineers. Now already, but also in the future, they will need and expected to work with AI-driven systems, basically adopt more technologies to the everyday work that they're responsible. Um, let's have a little discussion on how to go about it. Maybe you could share your thoughts on how to go about training or change management or fears from or concerns from the team Maybe you could share some respond from current staff with adopting technologies at the Moda Center, and how would you go about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our internal AI committee and team has done a really good job around this in preparing teams to work for AI-driven systems. I think it's definitely about structured education, like clear governance, and then also like hands-on experience for those staff.
Yeah.
And I think our organization has approached that in several ways. One, we do have like an internal AI committee. Um, that is, it's called Radar, Responsible AI Discovery, Alignment, and Review. So their role is to ensure that AI adoption is, transparent, secure, and aligned with our organizational priorities, while still, empowering the teams that are closest to that work to help explore solutions. Additionally, I think education and just hands-on training are super important. That team has put on a ton of lunch and learns that any staff can attend in terms of like just around AI education and different tools that are available to them. I know we are also company-wide going to be rolling out an AI training for every single full-time staff member. So again, I think that like education hands-on training is super important. Definitely having a company-wide AI use policy. So we did that a long time ago with legal, making sure you have that AI use policy and it's been sent out to all staff and they understand how to use AI appropriately, especially when it comes to things like data privacy. And then I think something else that team did that was super effective was they actually took the time to literally meet with every single department and just understand what their pain points are. So like, what do you do at your job every day that you say, oh, it sucks, I have to do this? And then work with them and like kind of break down like the tasks that they have to do to accomplish that, to understand like, is this an opportunity where AI could be a solution and a driver for more efficiency here, and help them think about it in that way, as in like it's going to make your job easier so you can have more time to focus on other things. I think our staff response has been pretty positive to AI. I do know like it can be very divisive in terms of some people just really don't like it, or like afraid it's going to take their job away or replace their job. But I think the messaging we've tried to have around that is that AI doesn't replace employees, it just reduces repetitive work, and allows them to focus on other higher value work that AI can't do.
Absolutely. And I love the AI committee. That's something that I don't think I've heard from many stadiums, maybe just one beside you guys. So it is awesome that you guys done that, and it shows a lot of how you guys going about it and adopting it. And also those maybe meetings with the staff, and the educational sessions. And I'll touch a little bit more about that on what we do with customers in that regard. But that's awesome. That probably what helped you guys achieve what you're already achieving in AI. Awesome. Well, and then we'll give you a little break, and I'll take some questions. Maybe you could give us advice to other operators, and then I'll answer some from the Honeywell side. You prepared the teams to AI-powered building management. What advice would you give to your colleagues basically on the call today, thinking as to go in the AI journey with their teams for
Yeah.
the outcomes that we mentioned?
Yeah, I think definitely start with the company-wide AI use policy if you don't already have one of those. Definitely work with your legal team on that, just so you can ensure that AI is being used responsibly. But then I would say, I think starting with like small, like kind of high impact pilot projects are definitely the way to go. And also just providing learning opportunities for staff around how to use AI and how to use it more effectively to do their jobs, I think is super important. Um, and again, I do think the most impactful team that our internal like AI committee did was take the time to meet with different departments to understand, like really dive deep into what the pain points are for those departments, and to look at whether AI could be a potential solution to kind of reduce the friction that those pain points are creating within the departments. Yeah, and I would say, you know, it's also an evolving industry. I feel like it's changing every day, and just continuing to try and stay educated on, which is sometimes hard to do because again, it's continuing to evolve, but continuing to stay educated on the AI landscape. And if you can have like an internal committee or team, I think that's super helpful in helping guide the organization.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's really helpful and tangible for the other colleagues on the call today.
Yeah. I guess on your side, I'm curious, what guardrails does like Honeywell put in place to ensure that AI is being applied responsibly, from, you know, a privacy to transparency and like accountability perspective?
Yeah, that's really, really good, and I think top of mind. We do a lot for that. So first of all, obviously from a legal perspective, data ownership, where the data reside, all of that is super clear, and made sure that privacy, not only of the proprietary business data that is important for you, for the venue to have, but also of the privacy of the individuals that attending the event. So we put guardrails as it relates to obviously on the legal side, to have it very protected, but then in the product side. So the way that we do it is allowing for the AI outcomes with, for the most part, completely stripping any user identifiable data, any PIDs. All the personal identified data are really not needed to achieve, for example, in Oscar, in your perspective, it doesn't really matter who that person is. What matters is what item they put in, and the feedback that they got, and measuring it. So the same goes for optimization of your HVAC, for comfort controls, for a lot of the fan experience pieces, not recording or utilizing and sharing and identifying user identified data is key. The third piece of it is cybersecurity. So we go through extremely robust cybersecurity process. It starts really from the core. Everything is built from the ground up with cyber in mind. With AI, what's different is from the on-premise systems that were really not connected to anything, is the fact that they are connected, right? You use a lot of, some of it you still can do on-prem, but some of it is going to a cloud-based solution to harness the power of computing, and you need robust AI security base for that. So if we go to cyber certification, penetration testing, not recording identified information, making sure that all the guardrails are there, not only from a data privacy perspective, but also from integrity of controls perspective. One of the biggest fears that we hear from our customers is, hey, AI and all of it is nice, but I cannot risk my building not to be in the right temperature. I cannot risk my fire, life safety, access control, intruder detection. All of those still have to operate to the best extent needed. And in order to do that, we build a whole set of guardrails within the system to make sure that, one, they always operate. Even if the cloud goes down, we also, AWS go down last week, taking down half of the internet with it, right? And you have to build it right in order to be resilient, so the venue always operate no matter what. So I will say it's data privacy, and data security, and resiliency of the solution no matter what, that is key for AI to work. And that's something that we do and make sure that in our work with customers is integral part of the process, and top of mind for everybody.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great to hear. I am wondering, how do you approach the environmental impact of AI itself? So energy use, the computational demands, while, keeping sustainability as the goal.
Yeah, and Brittany, you and I had an interesting discussion about that prior to this, and it honestly, as part of the sustainability community and somebody that is so passionate about sustainability, it's something that I personally, even when I use AI tools, right, I feel personally that um, we use AI and we don't always think about what goes in the back end in order to process that. So the way that I approach it in products that I help design within Honeywell and the way that Honeywell approaches is with sustainability in mind. That means that the way that we build our data centers, the way that we build the software. I just described how we do data earlier, the data commissioning of the building, all of the data ingestion and integration and optimization has to be done with minimal resources, and it has to be designed like that. Because if you don't do that, what you end up is with significant amount of processing needed to reach the outcomes that we described. Now, for those of us that don't know, more optimization means more heat, means more CPUs working, more memory writes, more data transfers. All of that creates a higher environmental impact, and it's a fair consideration to think, wait, if I do that, how do I make sure that I don't really all that carbon and energy that I'm saving doesn't contradict that? So what we do in Honeywell is to build our products in the way that we build partner with data centers and build our servers is to reduce carbon impact across the value chain, use sustainable technologies for cooling and advanced cooling. Um, we actually even help data centers today to become to have clean energy to them. We build solar farms. We build a clean energy that feeds data centers for our customers and for ourselves. So if you think about it, it's clean energy for data centers, one, and second is the impact of um, efficient product in terms of read, writes, optimization to have it without that, I will say, large uh, processing needed. And finally, on the flip side, we focus heavily on outcome, right? When we partner with you, reduce of carbon, equipment replacement, that's not just CapEx savings, that's sustainability savings. Truck rolls, right? We call them truck service people that come to your venue to use AI to reduce the need of that and self-healing systems and remote work. All of that creates such a large sustainability and carbon impact for the facility and at the flip side, clean energy, that we make sure that the sustainability outcome is there.
Awesome. That's
Um,
good to hear. That's really amazing to hear too, everything you've put into the clean energy around data centers you're
yeah.
using.
Maybe Brittany, then you could share a little bit. Do you have, we have maybe 5 or 6 minutes until we'll take some questions. Maybe you could share maybe either concerns that come internally about the environmental trade-off. I think you alluded to that in your question. And just in general, how do you balance sustainability benefits with the footprint of deploying new technology from your end? I described how we do it from the Honeywell side when we partner with customers. What are your concerns and how do you balance those benefits with technologies from your end?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we've all seen those like headline grabbing stats that are like a single AI inquiry is equivalent to energy used to power your house for a day and X amount of water. And like I have also had staff internally like send me those messages. So and like honestly, I completely understand those concerns around AI's environmental impact, and I share them myself. I think energy use, computational demands, and like the lack of full transparency in a lot of models that are out there is a real challenge, especially considering a lot of the technology is still emerging. But at the same time, I don't see AI going away. And I also see the potential value AI can bring to sustainability and operations, as you were saying. So I think it's a balance that we have to actively explore. And like, honestly, I'm learning as I go, trying to ask those questions about energy efficiency, the models being used, vendor transparency, while like considering the ways to deploy AI responsibly and strategically. So I think it's just not blindly adopting any AI model, but ensuring you're like capturing the benefits where they exist while definitely pushing for more transparency in that industry. I think AI has so much potential, but it definitely needs to be applied thoughtfully. So we should
Yeah.
continue to keep asking those tough questions about its environmental impacts while we're continuing to like leverage its benefits. Yeah, it's a really interesting space, and I think there are a lot of experts and sustainability professionals in that space that are trying to help quantify this information and like help that industry be more transparent. So I'm very interested to see how that continues to evolve.
Awesome. Should we jump into the future vision of AI?
Yeah, I mean, looking ahead, I'm curious what excites you most about the future in AI, specifically in like stadiums and operations. And like maybe if you could build one new AI tool for venues, what problem would it solve?
Yeah, and obviously I am very excited about what the AI could do for stadiums, and what I so before I say what excite me, I will say it all starts with data. Like with AI, you literally can't do anything. It doesn't exist without a flow of quality data, and that's something that each of you that thinking about AI or thinks that like, oh, we have time to implement AI. Yes, you're right. You have the time, but without integration, without connecting experiences within your building. And when I say that, I mean building management systems, chillers, boilers, fan experience, ticketing, restaurants, food service, cleaning, security, access control, fire, life safety, city, weather, events, integrating all of those. And that's what we do with the Honeywell Forge and our enterprise building integrator is basically coming into the facility and providing a full on-prem and cloud integrated data platform that is AI, the base of AI, not just AI ready. It has to be with the right data ontology that basically it means that everything in the building has a name and a place. And once that happens and the data flows into the data lake, then you can run AI models, you can choose your outcomes, you can optimize, you can create fan experience. So I think what excites me the most is that stadium of the future. We're actually helping those exist. There's several global brands that we're working with. You'll soon hear about a partnership we're doing with the Charlotte Hornets. You've heard what we're doing with the State Farm Arena in the Atlanta Hawks. You'll hear about global brands we work with all over the world, really to create that stadium of the future where sustainability is not just its own goal and fan experience is not its own goal, but it's really an immersive experience where everybody's job really changed and the experience is, I will say, with a lot of um, delightfulness to it, both for the operator and for the people in the building. And that's just will change the way that we operate the venue and experience it as a fan. Maybe Brittany, before we get to questions, maybe you could share from your end your long-term vision for how AI could help the Blazers or just in general for stadiums and arenas from where you sit, um, the long-term vision for AI from your mind.
Yeah, I see it having a big impact on sustainability teams and venues in the sports space as well, because typically we're very lean teams or there's not even a person that has sustainability in their title. So I really see AI as a tool to help those teams. Like ultimately, I want our program, our sustainability program to spend less time wrangling all that data and analyzing it and more time executing on strategy and innovation and doing good work within our community. And I see AI as a tool to help us get there and kind of turn that flood of data into like actionable insights to help us, really accelerate progress towards our climate goals. So that's really the kind of the future I see. I mean, like I'm very much still learning, but I want to keep an open mind in terms of how we can use AI strategically to get to our goals faster.
Uh, Awesome. I love that. Well, maybe that's a good stopping point to take questions. So Brittany and I will start answering the questions that I already put in, but we encourage all of you that were with us and heard this conversation about AI. Feel free to go to the QA box and just type a question or something of discussion that you would like to be brought up, and we're happy to answer. Brittany, maybe we start with you with Elizabeth's question about the Oscar AI. Oscar AI sorts the waste of sports stadiums. What is the complete end-to-end process for handling and disposing of recycling that material?
Yeah, so we do post sort our waste at the end of the night. So every bag that comes down at the end of the night, we actually do a sort to ensure our streams are super clean, specifically compost and reuse. And then also bottles and cans, because we donate those bottles and cans to local nonprofits. They come pick them up and they get the deposit money for funding, which is awesome. But yeah, we try and keep those streams really clean. So we are still doing a lot on the back end in terms of sorting. I mean, future vision, if we had, and again, we only have Oscar AI on like 10 of our bins in the arena, and we have probably 200 bins in the arena. So really right now, it's just kind of helping us gather a small
Sure.
data set in terms of like what we're seeing in terms of fan behavior. But like future, like if we had them on every bin and they were improving return rates on all bins, like maybe we wouldn't need a post sort because AI is doing that education up front for our fans and they know exactly where to put things. That's very future,
Yeah.
but just thinking in creative ways like that, like how can we reduce labor around that post sort upstream by having this education in place for our fans.
Okay. Thank you for that. One more question from Gabrielle, and I'll take it, and then you answer from your end as well, Brittany. Are you using AI to track performance of other sustainability goals, not just waste tracking? For waste tracking, the ask is this back of house or front of house. So I will say from at least from Honeywell perspective, when we deploy AI-based systems, we're using AI to track all performance goals. So we're talking about KPIs, obviously in sustainability as carbon reduction, but in the operational side, the the cousin of carbon reduction is energy performance, energy reduction, energy cost, operational KPIs, operational cost, maintenance cost, time to close work orders, number of complaints. We're using AI to not only track all of that, but to report all of that. And reporting is something we keep hearing from customers. They want to get credit for all that hard work, both from their community, their investors, their owners, the teams, and also from the fans. So, for example, we built digital signage system that does live engagement with the fans of the KPIs with the AI optimization directly to the fans. Literally within the last hour, this is the what the AI optimization has done for this facility. Really, from your end, do you want to answer that about tracking performance with AI?
Yeah, I mean, currently no, but that is our ultimate goal and strategically something we're working towards. Um, so yeah, I mean, yes, it's in our future plan, but right now we are not.
Okay. A question from Arturo, which I really love that question. Thank you for asking that. Someone working in athletic operations and coaching, how can they, as a smaller venue, use the AI and sustainability to streamline operations, to enhance fan experience and player experience without major hardware investment? And I absolutely love that question because doing way more with less is the key of AI. And what we do in Honeywell is really helping you assess the technology and systems that in your buildings there could be sensors that you don't even know exist. You might have your Wi-Fi routers and plug into them and use them as sensors for occupancy. You have an aging BMS system deploying a cloud-based software as a service solution that optimizes and reports of that. That's something that a venue of any size really can do. We have I will say any league, any size, And it's really the cost and the investment is proportional to the venue and the outcomes. So it's very approachable, and I absolutely encourage a tour and outdoor venues that you don't have to be 150,000 seat larger stadium to be able to say, I want to use AI for sustainability and optimization. You can be a very small venue, and we will work with you to implement such systems without recommending. Obviously, if there is hardware recommendations, we will do those. Brittany, do you want to add anything to that question from your end?
I think you covered most of it. I think one example I would go back to is the example I gave in the beginning around that AI tool we created to respond to detractors. I believe we created that internally. So again, that wasn't a large investment, but also just increased our response time exponentially. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're approaching the end of it. If there's one last question, we'll take it. I will say that from a Honeywell perspective, if any of you feel that you guys want to continue the discussions about AI, think about how that works in your venue, just write in the chat or ping me after. My name is Dani. Like, I'm happy to have me myself just get on the phone and talk with you about how AI can work in your facility or one of our teams. I'm sure, Brittany, you welcome any conversations from our peers in the Green Sport Alliance. So at this point, I would like to thank you for being here with me and co-hosting this with me, and Mika as well with the Green Sport Alliance. And yeah, and thanking all of you guys for being here today. Mika, do you want any conclusions?
No, that was great. Really enjoyed the conversation, learning from both of you. So thanks for participating, and yeah, looking forward to seeing how your projects develop and all that.
Awesome. And Brittany, wow, the type of stuff you guys do and how you guys progress with AI, I wish it on many, many venues. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Thank
keep up
guys.
the good
you.
work.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.